think Jimmy said.
Yeah.
And also, hopefully, for free speech, but also, for the Fleischer family, the Nazi family.
Is that them?
And that's them. And then, do you have a fan club with you tonight?
Yeah, neighbors. They're not Jewish, but
Good. Well, that's good.
They sing in my group at the community.
Nice.
It's also my mother's yard site, so as always, I have something to say.
Good.
Feels like there's so much tonight.
It's those evenings where this is one of those nights where we have from celebration of something new, wonderful, to something thought-provoking, maybe Jonathan and Yuri, to people at the other end of mourning and remembrance. So that's what you want the synagogue to be.
And now English is going to be the only language that the documents will be printed in. We went back to English as our official language, and everybody else is excluded.
Okay, so it's Shabbos for the ganze Welt, even for the Gulf of America. So, okay. So, I think we're ready. Friends, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to B'nai Israel. Leona Schwartz, our newly hired choir director, is tonight's Shlichat HaTzibur service leader. You may have, if you receive our Shofar newsletter, you just read about Leona and one other person in that this evening. Michaela, our choir, is in the house. As we ready to formally welcome Shabbat, first please offer a Shabbat Shalom. Introduce yourself to those sitting nearby in the sanctuary, particularly people you didn't come with. So please say hello, introduce yourself if you don't know one another. So, friends, it's time for Shabbat here, and it's time for Shabbat for the whole world. On page, we have a very spirited group tonight. On page 639, we join with Leona as we recognize Shabbat here and Shabbat for the whole world. Shabbat, this is Yiddish, that all of Israel celebrates Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom. I know. Oh, thank you. I know that most of you don't know Yiddish, but you can at least join in on the Yababais. Shabbos, 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 Shabbos. Soll sein jeden Shabbos. Shabbos soll sein, Shabbos soll sein, Shabbos auf der ganzen Welt.
Shabbos soll sein, Shabbos soll sein, Shabbos auf der ganzen Welt. Ja, ba 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 ba. Ja, ba 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 ba. Ja, ba 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 ba. Ja, ba 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 ba. Ja, ba 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 ba. Ja, ba 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 ba. Shalom, 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 shalom. Soll sein jeden Shalom. Shalom soll sein, Shalom soll sein, Shalom auf der ganzen Welt. Shalom soll sein, Shalom soll sein, Shalom auf der ganzen Welt. Sing! Ja, ba 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 ba. Ja, ba 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 ba. Ja, ba 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 ba. Ja, ba 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 ba. Ja, ba 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 ba. Ja, ba 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 ba. We turn to page 120 for Hadlakat Hanerot, the kindling of the lights of Shabbat. I mentioned earlier, you could see in our Shofar newsletter publication about Leona as our choir director. You could also read about Janessa as our music director in the religious school, and Janessa and Adria, they'll be up here a bit tonight. First, they're going to lead us in candle lighting. You'll find that on page 120.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. We turn to page 142 as we continue to welcome Shabbat. We welcome Shabbat with the anthem Shalom Aleichem, page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem v'shalom, malachei shalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu.
The Chatzi Kaddish will be found on page 144. We join together with Leona.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei.
B'chai
yechon uvyom echon
uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Bagala, uvizman karim, veimeru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach, li'olam me'amaya, yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal, Shmei dekudesha b'richu, Leila min kol bechata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran v'yalma, Amen. Page 146, we invite those who are able to rise for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
I read on the bottom of page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai,
Hama'ariv Aravim.
and the bottom of page 150. Praise to Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Page 154. We join together with Leona in chanting the Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol miodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam l'manecha v'divatam b'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shofbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshatam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Emet. We turn to page 156. I read towards the bottom of the page. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. Mi Chamocha, page 158.
Another Yum Bum song. Yum bum bum bim bim bum, yabba bum bum bim bum, yum bum bum bim bim bum, yabba bum bum bim bum, dai 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 dai, yabba bum bum bim bum, dai 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 dai, yabba bum bum bim bum. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh, Norah tehilot osefele, Norah tehilot osefele. Yam bum bum bim bim bum, yabba bum bum bim bum, yam bum bum bim bim bum, yabba bum bum bim bum. Dai 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 dai, yabba bum bum bim bum. Dai 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 dai, yabba bum bum bim bum. Ma'alechutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Zeli zeli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam vo'ed. Yam bum bum bim bim bum, yabba bum bum bim bum, yam bum bum bim bim bum, yabba bum bum bim bum, dai 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 dai, yabba bum bum bim bum, dai 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 dai, yabba bum bum bim bum.
Praise to you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Page 160, I read at the bottom of the page. Praised are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. On page 162, we sing for the Shabbat, Vishamru, the top of the page.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz, ve'shamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash, ve'shamru
B'nai Yisrael et HaShabbat
לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Our service now continues, page 164, with the tefillah. We invite those who are able to rise. We'll be singing the prayers on the right-hand pages, on the even-numbered pages, beginning page 164, continuing to page 170.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yadi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Ha'imor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imaot ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו ויאהבה. מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God.
ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. Day 511. I heard some of the eulogies from the funeral for Shiri Ariel and Kafir Bibas, as the mother and her young children who were abducted into Gaza and then murdered there were buried in Israel amidst searing pain and profound sadness. Yardan Bibas's tribute to his late wife and children remind us of all that was lost. The remains of 4 more hostages were returned yesterday. 59 hostages remain in Gaza, 36 of them declared dead. All of them need to come home until the very last. We pray Achenu for the redemption of all the hostages, our brothers and sisters, the whole house of Israel, who are in distress or in captivity, who stand either in the sea or on dry land. May the Omnipresent have mercy on them and take them out from narrowness to expanse, and from darkness to light, and from oppression to redemption, now, swiftly, and soon. Immediately after watching some of the eulogies, I saw student extremists at Barnard temporarily take control of a building in order to demonize Israel, beating drums and shouting their vapid, hateful slogans. It was a sober reminder of the long road ahead to the day when people might positively recognize one another. Hours later came reports of a terror attack, leaving 14 Israelis wounded in northern Israel. Praying for peace now, praying for peace every time we worship. Let us never lose sight of our own values, commitment, and determination. Shalom Rav, page 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol Shalom, ki atahu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. Betov b'necha livarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Silent Prayer, page 180.
Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Page 371. As we offer the blessing for healing this Shabbat, we are mindful of Ivel Kovner, Eileen Fallis, Dr. David Levy, Barbara Cassidy, Alan Stein, Sarah Lai Pennington, Zvi Amina, Bat Ida Michla, Tzvi Hirsch, Marilu Constance, Jason Peck, Joseph Gates, Karen Armstrong, Ed Vigilante, and Matt Schnellner. There are also those for whom we pray privately. For those in our sanctuary, we invite you to share aloud the names of people for whom we likewise publicly pray this Shabbat. And for those on Zoom, we invite you to unmute and say out loud the names of those for whom we also pray this Shabbat. For all, may the Holy One send healing and shelter and protection. Our prayer, Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Limotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Janessa, we're going to invite you and Adria up. Ruth said, "Entreat me not to leave you or to return from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God." So I ask you, Janessa, to again affirm. Have you chosen to enter the eternal covenant between God and the people Israel and to become a Jew of your own free will?
Yes.
Have you pledged your loyalty to Judaism and to the Jewish people?
Yes.
Will you participate actively in the life of the synagogue and the Jewish community?
Yes.
Have you committed yourself to the pursuit of Torah and Jewish knowledge?
Yes.
These are very easy questions. Adrian, have you chosen to become Jewish of your own free will, voluntarily?
Yes.
Have you pledged your loyalty to Judaism and to the Jewish people?
Yes.
Will you participate actively in Jewish life in your future? Have you committed yourself to Jewish learning?
Yes.
So we're going to open the ark. I invite those who are able to rise. Janessa and Adria, we are taught, "Behold, a good doctrine has been given you, my Torah. Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to all who hold on to it, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are shalom." I will now place the Torah into your accepting arms. Take it to your heart as you will be reciting its essence, the Shema, those words that are on the lips of the Jew at our most sacred moments and whose meaning continues to sustain us. And so, Adria, Adria, hold just a little piece of that too. Yeah, perfect. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. I'm going to take the Torah back. And now closing the ark. We invite everyone to be seated, but you two don't go anywhere. Okay. So first and we have a microphone right here. So please tell us about the Hebrew names that you've selected, Chana Yisraela and Shiloh Hannah. So Janessa?
I chose Hannah in honor of my mom, Andrea, who personified grace throughout her life. And I chose Yisraela because I like the story of Jacob wrestling with God, and it reminded me of my dad. So I named myself in honor of both my parents.
I chose Shiloh because of my grandma's name. Her name was Sigrid, and I think that choosing a name that starts with an S is kind of in honor of my grandma, and I chose Hannah in honor of my mom and those before me.
You are now also known within the Jewish people by the names Chana Yisraela and Shiloh Hannah. May these names bring respect to you and honor to us all. We rejoice to welcome you into our midst, you who willingly and devotingly help replenish the ranks of our people. Now talk about a journey. Early last year, could you have imagined, Janessa, that you'd be our new religious school music director? That's when you wrote to the synagogue explaining that you were new to the area, looking for a community that reflected your beliefs, and that you were interested in learning more about Reform Judaism. Fast forward, yesterday you and then Adria joined me and two rabbinic colleagues at the mikveh, as well as our beloved retiring music director, Linda. Both of you engaged in thoughtful, heartfelt conversation with the Beit Din, and then were formally entered into the Jewish people, an event our entire congregation celebrates with you and your family this evening. In the interim, of course, it was quite hectic. Adult education, intro class, discussion group, Musar, Torah study, choir, our Kulanu initiative with ADL, and together with Adria and CJ, being a frequent and welcoming presence at services, to name just a few things. Your family is now deeply involved in an environment dedicated to finding the sacred in diversity and inclusion. We've come to know you as smart and focused, with lots of good questions and insights. You are dedicated to your family, knowing from your own past and its losses that relationships are to be honored and cherished. So too, you are well-spoken, and with your beautiful voice and musicianship, it'll be great soon to have you instructing our youth. Adria, along with CJ, you two have made a strong impact on us all. Like your mom and brother, you're also full of questions. I and we know you to possess a kindness, a thoughtfulness, and a sensitivity towards others far beyond your years. Maura Jackie describes you as fun, motivated to learn, and always has that beautiful smile. Maura Jackie, she can speak for herself, but she also said that she described you as the perfect balance between silly and serious. As for you, Adria, you wrote to me yesterday that you're super happy to be part of the tribe. and we that you and your mom have helped to strengthen. Now, just as Janessa sensed in her query on our website that there's uplift in finding the right place to form connection, not at all dissimilar from her, the ancient Israelite pilgrim experienced a sense of awe and joy in journeying to and arriving at a place established to encounter the God of Israel. The psalmist uses the word samachti, of personally rejoicing upon finding oneself going up to God's house. The text concludes, "For the sake of my kin and friends, I pray for your well-being. For the sake of the house of Adonai our God, I seek your good." Tonight as an anthem, the choir sings that psalm. Janessa and Adrian, reflecting on your journeys, I hope that each trek up the driveway to this synagogue brings true uplift. First, we have a blessing, and then the Shehechianu. That will be followed by the choir's anthem. Our blessing, you guys, I know you know this. You did such a great job with this in the mikveh yesterday. The Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Semen tov and mazel tov and mazel tov and semen tov and mazel tov and semen tov and mazel tov and semen tov yehelanu. Congratulations, thank you so much. And Linda?
Don't go anywhere for a second. I can't miss this opportunity. Here. Okay, just a couple words. This is a very special girl. She is full of questions, and she's full of follow-up questions, and she's full of questions that there are no answers to, and she's full of questions, and it's not like she's trying to stump you or she's trying to like put you in your place. I mean, she's just bubbling over with joy, and they just like bubble out of you. You are just a bubbler of questions. And that's very Jewish. The joy of questions. So you have picked the right route. And we are so happy to have you with us. And I'm not supposed to hug, but I'm holding my breath. And my dear friend, Janessa, from the beginning, she's worked so hard. She is so thoughtful, so mindful in terms of the way she's approaching this whole body of knowledge and just speaking of what you've had to learn for choir. It's like books and books and so many words that initially didn't mean anything, but they start to mean something. And they mean something right there. They do. And you know what? This is the way I learned about Judaism, through the music, and it's been a very meaningful path for me. Yeah. So I wish the same for you. And I have to say that I'm so respectful of your love of diversity and your respect for all the people of the world, all the people of the. All the people, and also kids, and that's why I think it's so wonderful, the way you speak to kids, the way you listen to kids, and we are very lucky to have her as part of our team at B'nai Israel and in the religious school. So thank you. Thank you both for choosing our path, and we look forward to marching with you side by side and learning together. So, and of course we were going to sing to her, and of course she didn't want us to sing to her. She's going to sing with us. Yep. So give her a chance. We're all going to walk down there and we're going to sing together.
Thank you. We only play this and sing this on state occasions, and that is tonight. Our weekly Torah portion, Truma, tells of the people readying gifts to God who had liberated them from slavery. In gratitude, they acknowledge the Holy One's gift to them, freedom. It's another indication how since antiquity, freedom has spoken with a Hebrew accent. Championing freedom has defined us as Jews, with notable consequences. Power-hungry tyrants find our views of liberty threatening, and by our very existence, we stand as a counterweight to conformity. Hence, as the Passover Haggadah explains, Shebachol dor vador omdim aleinu lachalotenim, that in every generation some rise up to plot our annihilation. Yet we soldier on, knowing we are on the correct side within an existential struggle, knowing that freedom is grounded in truth and inquiry. As Maimonides warned us, even a single word of make-believe and deception is forbidden. Doubling down against conformity, our sages promoted the understanding elu ve'elu, that conflicting opinions are both words of the living God. And works like the Mishnah and the Talmud and Midrash are replete in different rulings and interpretations. Thus, Ibn Ezra, a great medieval biblical commentator, warned that the absence of free speech leads to moral atrophy. As he explained, when a person refrains from speech, the ideas die, the soul stops, and the senses deteriorate. Tellingly, from Abraham questioning God over Sodom, to Moses confronting Pharaoh and the prophet Nathan rebuking King David, we rightly venerate speaking truth to power and questioning authority. Moreover, as social beings, Judaism admonishes us to choose our words wisely and refrain from lashon hara, from evil gossip and slander. As heirs to this tradition of learning going back millennia, we value expertise and wisdom. As such, in the effort to endeavor to make sense of current circumstances and contemporary challenges to free speech, we welcome guidance from two esteemed fellow congregants, each providing a helpful perspective and personal narrative. First up is Jonathan Kapstein, a past trustee. Born and educated in Providence, he was a journalist at the Associated Press in New York before moving overseas for 50 years. In that sunny era of weekly news magazines, Jonathan was Business Week bureau chief in Rio, Toronto, Milan, Johannesburg, and Brussels. He then worked as a freelance writer and consultant. Jonathan retired time and again, only to be put back to work explaining the U.S. to Europe or vice versa. As a former lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy, Jonathan said the mourner's Kaddish in formal Memorial Day ceremonies at American military cemeteries in Belgium for more than a decade. Still active in international press groups, he was president of the Press Club in Brussels before moving to Connecticut 8 years ago and joining B'nai Israel. We won't say how our board compares to the Press Club. But Jonathan, we welcome you forward.
Well, good evening and good Shabbos, and welcome to newcomers, both new Jews and new music director. Farewell to our favorite old music director, and we'll see you here. Well, as the rabbi said, I'm Jonathan Kapstein. I spent 48 years on foreign assignment as an international journalist in Rio de Janeiro, Toronto, Milan, Johannesburg, Brussels, I swam in the gale of events, and we Jews here in America are in still another of history's gathering storms. My wife and I retired and moved to Woodbury 8 years ago. We are, and always will be, newcomers, outsiders. We're welcomed. We have fond friends, but we're perennial outsiders. It reminds me of the apocryphal newspaper obituary from a small town in Maine that supposedly read, and I quote, "Although she was not one of us, she was much loved during the 87 years she lived here." Well, as the obituary said, not one of us. I worry, I really do. Are we as Jews being seen once more as not one of us, with the next step, exclusion? You remember the infamous Charlottesville march nearly 8 years ago at the start of the first Trump presidency, coincided with our arrival in Woodbury. The signs and shouts of "Jews shall not replace us" in Charlottesville streets. Trump's comments, some fine people on both sides. Is the golden age of Jews in America over? If true, it was a short and happy coffee break. Are we becoming irrelevant? As we diminish from 5% to 1% of the U.S. population, are we outsiders? There may be reality in the dismissive cliche that Jews in Germany early on just weren't paying attention. Nevertheless, our American freedoms here, our reliance on a free press, fair law, our reliance on open discussion, our embrace of equity and equality, it's our safety valve, and it's under, I think, incredible danger. We as Jews in America run the risk of becoming irrelevant, then seen as a problem, and finally, dare I say, exclusion. Free speech and a free press, identical except in transmission, are often seen as our bulwark. And I ask, will they remain so? As a print journalist, I had a wonderful life. I was paid to see the world, make sense out of it, and write about it. What fun. A journalist wisecrack with some validity is that journalists afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. It fits with the Hebrew command, tikkun olam, repair the world. It is who we are in our Jewish commitment to ethics. Honesty and truth and perspective go a long way towards dealing with that perpetual crisis. That's what journalism tries to do. I do not think journalism is easy to define or categorize. I don't know where social sites are taking us. I saw the internet kill weekly magazines. Social sites destroyed commercial television. Influencers finished off what was left. Newspapers, I guess. Pew Research reported last month that 22% of Americans get all their news from influencers. As writing journalists, we created a mosaic of events. My colleagues and I reflected this in the short day-night or 24-hour or weekly cycle. It was bites from Time's buffet. It was history in a hurry. At the same time, in the recent past, journalism, entertainment, education, law, medicine, the arts, in other words, intellect, were the open highways to prominence for Jews in America. My own dad went from shifting freight cars in the freight yards in Providence, Rhode Island, dangerously heavy labor, to become the first Jewish professor at Brown University. And for years, he was one of the very few in the entire Ivy League. He was an educator. I became a journalist. We journalists relied on American law and the freedom to speak and write freely, not intimidated by cries of fake news or complaints about some evil vaguely called the media. Thus, those are my credentials. I'm buoyed by free speech and the free press. They're the first items in the Bill of Rights. I live for it and I profited by it. We all do, at least for now. Let me end with a thought and a quote, both from Thomas Jefferson. Pardon me. Relevant to us Jews in America is Jefferson's own wording for his epitaph on his gravestone. He didn't mention the presidency. What he mentioned was the Bill of Rights. He mentioned, in particular, the Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom. It's worth reading. It's a very powerful document, and it's worth something to all of us. And relevant as well to me specifically as a journalist, Jefferson also once wrote, "If I had to choose a government without newspapers or newspapers without a government, I should not hesitate for a moment to prefer the latter." Thank you.
It's a doubleheader. Our second speaker is our current trustee, Yuri Schwartz. Yuri emigrated to America from Romania, where he was born. His parents, older brother, and he were able to leave the Transylvania region with the help of the State of Israel and the Jewish community. Arriving just after his becoming a bar mitzvah, the family lived first in Florida and then Massachusetts. Yuri became a chemical engineer and then a corporate attorney, where he has specialized in intellectual property matters. For the last 22 plus years, he's been with the same Fortune 100 company and serves as Assistant General Counsel and Head of Intellectual Property for the Americas and APAC regions. Prior, he was an associate at a large Washington, D.C. law firm, and before that, an attorney with the Commerce Department, U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Married to fellow attorney Allison, who is a past B'nai Israel trustee. They've lived the past 22 plus years in Newtown, where they raised Ari and Ava. He's a dedicated Israel advocate, albeit, I guess, lucky for him. Just about exactly 5 years ago, I hung out with Yuri at the APAC Policy Conference as America lurched towards the COVID shutdown. Happily, though, you can see he survived the experience. Perhaps that's another talk for a different time. Yuri?
Rabbi, thank you for the introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome one and all, new Jews and old Jews as well. I want to once again thank Rabbi Polakov for inviting me to speak to you about one of the most significant gifts bestowed upon humanity, the right of free speech. Speech is more than words. It is the essence of expression, the vehicle of truth, and the foundation of a just society. We shall explore the differences between the First Amendment guarantees of free speech here in the United States and the treatment of speech in communist regimes like Romania, the country where I was born and spent my formative years. I'm pleased to report, however, that Romania is no longer communist. I would also like to draw attention upon the timeless wisdom of the Jewish tradition. For centuries, Jewish teachings have grappled with the power of speech and the responsibilities it entails, offering insights that illuminate our modern discourse. In Judaism, the power of speech is seen as divine. The Torah begins with the words, "And God said, let there be light." Creation itself is brought into being through speech, underscoring its creative and transformative power. Humans made B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God, inherit this power and responsibility. Our words can build worlds or destroy them, heal souls, or harm them. The Talmud teaches life and death are in the power of the tongue, reminding us that freedom of speech is both an opportunity for moral greatness and profound ethical responsibility. Jewish tradition, therefore, views speech not merely as a right, but as a sacred trust. The concept of Lashon Hara, derogatory or harmful speech, warns us of the consequences of misusing this divine gift, while Toheha, or constructive rebuke, affirms the importance of speaking truth in a way to improve and correct others. These principles guide us toward a balanced approach, cherishing freedom of expression while remaining mindful of its potential impact. Here in the US, the First Amendment protects the right to free speech as an inalienable freedom. Rooted in democratic values, this right enshrines the individual's ability to express ideas, challenge authority, and participate fully in the marketplace of ideas. The Founding Fathers understood that no society could remain free without the ability to speak truth to power. In this lies a connection to Jewish thought. The prophets of Israel, from Isaiah to Jeremiah, never hesitated to call out injustice. They were often persecuted for their words, but their fearless speech became a moral compass for the entire Jewish people. The First Amendment amplifies the prophetic tradition, ensuring that even the smallest voice has the right to be heard. In this way, the U.S. stands as a model of a society rooted in the principle of tzedek, or justice, where speech becomes a tool to demand righteousness and accountability. Contrast this with the reality of speech under communist regimes such as former Romania or existing communist countries such as China, Cuba, and North Korea, to name a few. In theory, these regimes might claim to seek ideals that overlap with Jewish principles, such as equality and communal welfare. Yet in practice, they often suppress the very voices that hold power accountable. Dissenting speech, which Judaism views as a vital feature of moral growth, is treated as a threat. Those who criticize the state are silenced, and Toheha, constructive rebuke, is replaced by Irat al-Hashalit, fear of the ruler. Excuse my pronunciation, Rabbi. Jewish history offers a poignant warning about the dangers of silencing dissent. In the story of the Tower of Babel, a unified society becomes corrupt precisely because it enforces conformity, rejecting diverse ideas and voices. The tower collapses not merely because of divine displeasure, but because societies that stifle open dialogue ultimately fail. Communist regimes, with the emphasis on control over speech, echo Babel's mistakes. By monopolizing truth and punishing dissent, they undermine the growth and creativity that speech fosters. As the dawn of a new chapter in American life has opened up before us, we must remain vigilant and bravely insist that we speak truth to power and not be cowed or intimidated into silence. The human cost of silencing speech cannot be overstated. Jewish history serves as a testimony to this truth. In times of persecution, whether under the Pharaoh in Egypt or oppressive regimes throughout the centuries, silencing Jewish voices threatened not just the survival of a people, but the moral clarity they brought to the world. Conversely, when speech flourishes, humanity itself blossoms. From the ethical teachings of the Torah to the bold activism of individuals like Elie Wiesel, a fellow Romanian, Jewish voices have shown the world the power of truth spoken aloud, even in the face of tyranny. In closing, Jewish tradition teaches that speech is both a right and a responsibility. It is a gift meant to elevate others, to seek truth, and to create a just world. In the United States, the First Amendment honors this calling, allowing the prophetic voices to echo free and unrestrained. In contrast, communist regimes, by silencing dissent, stifle the very moral dialogue that Judaism holds sacred. As we stand in the tension between freedom and its misuse, let us remember the wisdom of the Psalms. Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceit. May we safeguard free speech not only as a constitutional right, but as a divine mandate to speak truth, seek justice, and build a world worthy of humanity's highest ideals. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
We now turn to page 586. We invite forward Margaret Kane to open our ark. We rise, those who are able, for the Aleinu. The Aleinu that we'll be chanting is the second paragraph down on the page.
שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Please be seated. Vinetmar, page 591.
ונאמר וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Page 598. At this moment in our service, we now call to mind our own beloved dead. We pray on their behalf and voice the confidence that they are remembered for blessing. I ask that those in mourning, remembering the anniversary of the death of a loved one, to please rise if you're able when their name is mentioned, whether you're in the sanctuary or joining us electronically. During Shiva, we remember Norma Fleischer, mother of Melissa, mother-in-law of Mike, and grandmother of Jess, Jared, and Josh. During Shloshim, we remember Rabbi Micah Ellenson and Irma Balinson, mother of Jerry, mother-in-law of Fran, and grandmother of Rebecca and Hannah. We remember the yard sites, the anniversaries of the deaths of Sidney J. Albert, Betty Bucino, May Carver, Joseph J. Davis, Henry Engelman, Jonathan B. Fleischer, Dr. Gordon A. Gano, Ira Goldman, Miriam Gorman, Marty Green, Morris Halberstam, Nellie B. Klein, Morris Kozerski, Sylvia Millen, Hasha Mintz, Herman Pace, Benjamin Rose, Eugene Schiff, George L. Smith, Elizabeth Ivel Stratford, Henry A. Weissman, and Nancy Wright. Should you have a dear one to add, please rise and say their name. We ask our online worshipers on Zoom to unmute and say the name of their loved one. For those in our sanctuary, should you wish, we invite you to offer a short remembrance of a dear one on our Kaddish list. Please raise your hand for the microphone.
Every year I give a tribute about my mother, Hasha Mintz, and this year I decided to ask my family if one of them would like to write something, and I would read it. So this is my younger daughter's thoughts. It's been 17 years since my grandmother died. She was a talented pianist who made music the center of her life, which was evident by her ability to continue playing and teaching into her 9th decade of life. The loss of my grandmother represented the end of an era, which included the connection to my mother's side of the family and a legacy of music and entertainment. My grandfather was an actor on TV and movies. But soon I learned how much my grandmother's influence of making sure that music was a staple in my family would never go away. It has been pivotal in my life, and I can't imagine it any other way. In 2023, 15 years after her death, I inherited my grandmother's 1950 Baldwin baby grand piano, which has filled my heart and my living room. I feel equally intimidated and honored to place my fingers on the same keys she did for so many years. And now, 17 years since her passing, I can only aspire to perfectly play chopsticks. Just kidding, Graham. I'm trying.
We remember the slain hostages buried this week, including Shiri Ariel Kafir Bibas and Tzachi Idan, who was buried beside his murdered daughter. We also don't forget the Ukrainian victims of the brutal war initiated by Russia's dictator as part of Putin's stated goal to erase Ukrainian independence. Our hearts are with them, the freedom-loving Ukrainians, not with their would-be Russian overlords. Each week we mention 6 names amongst the 6 million murdered during the Shoah. This Shabbat, remember Anya Tzav, Basia Melzak, Manny DeJong, Nelly Moshinsky, Iana Vladimirsky, and Isaac Newman. In remembrance, in solidarity, and on behalf of those for whom there is no one but us to say Kaddish, we invite all who are able to rise our Kaddish prayer, page 598. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divra chirute ve'amlich malchute, b'chayecho u'vyomecho u'v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mavarach le'olam u'lomei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah b'richu le'ela minkol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Zichronam levarcha, may their memories be for blessing, and let us say, amen. Please be seated. Patty Berkowitz is president of B'nai Israel.
Good evening and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're glad you are all here. We had so many wonderful things to celebrate tonight. Thank you to Rabbi Eric for leading our service this evening. Thank you to Leona for sharing your beautiful voice, and to Michaela for all that you brought to us tonight. We appreciate that so much. Thank you tonight to our tech mavens in the back, Stephen and CJ. Thank you. A very warm mazel tov to Janessa and Adria on your conversion. We are so happy for you. We're really thankful your family is here. It's so nice to have them here to celebrate with you, celebrating this simcha. And special thank you to Jonathan and Yuri. I learned so much. Your contributions tonight to Free Speech Shabbat were really meaningful and insightful, and we really thank you for that. We encourage you all to continue the conversation tonight during our oneg. Are there any birthdays or anniversaries to share? Oh, Yuri, might it be your birthday? March coming up, very nice. 35, 36. I'll share. My son turned 29 yesterday. I'm not sure if I'm celebrating or not. It's a bit of a panic, I'm not going to lie, as that next decade is approaching as the mom. Any good news to share? Did a son safely land?
My chicks are in the nest, so both of them, I'm thrilled. But Matthew just found out that he was awarded the William J. Brandstrom Freshman Award for placing in the top 5% of this freshman class.
Wow, congratulations. That's amazing. That's wonderful.
He's a product of the B'nai Israel Religious School.
Yes, he is. Janessa?
I have two affairs, CJ, but
Fabulous. Thank you. We celebrate that. Nice work, CJ. Any others? Okay. This weekend, Torah study meets tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. in the library and on Zoom. Religious school will meet Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m., and the Introduction to Judaism class will meet at 10:45 a.m. Also, this Sunday, 1 p.m. in the social hall, Sisterhood is sponsoring an in-person event with Eliza Lavi, and I hope I pronounced that right. Did I? No? Close enough? Former member of the Israeli Knesset. Thank you. And author of the book, Iconic Jewish Women. Elisa will join us virtually for a presentation on iconic Jewish women and their impact. All are welcome. On Tuesday, Rabbi's discussion group will meet at 11 a.m. On Sunday, March 30th, about a month away, please join us for the next in the virtual series of lectures by Yuval Zelenkovsky. The topic is 2,000 Years of Exile, the Jewish Connection to the Land of Israel. Please contact the office to RSVP and receive the Zoom code. Finally, join us in the social hall for our oneg following Kiddush and Motzi. Special thank yous tonight to Janessa and family for sponsoring our oneg. Shabbat Shalom.
Adon Olam is on page 625.
Adon
Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir V'et Nasa V'hetzokol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Vehu Haya Vehu Hoveh Vehu Yiyeh B'tifara Vehu Echad V'yein Sheni Shilo Lehachbira B'li Reshit B'li Tachlit V'lo Haos V'Hamisra Vehu Eli V'chai Goali V'tzur Heli V'etzara Vehu Nisi Umanosli Menat Kosi V'yom Ekra V'yado Avkid Ruchi V'eti Sham V'yaira V'imruchi Geviati Adonai li V'lo ira. And after Kiddush, Janessa, I'm going to ask you and Adrian to help with our motzi. Page 123, sorry. Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava u'ratzon himchilanu zikaron le'maseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah le'mikrae kodesh zecher le'tzion Mitzrayim kivanu achata v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'yahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch Vanessa and Adria. The last thing we want is Typhoid Mary to be cutting the challah tonight. So please join together. Baruch
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Te'avon, may God's presence be with you and give you peace. Shabbat shalom. Good job.
Well, I felt so rousing to have so many voices.
Wasn't that? It was really just lovely. Lovely, lovely. I think that's just a beautiful service.
It was so interesting also.
And